I've been involved in water treatment my entire career, and first got involved in desalination in 1980. And as part of that effort, I got involved with removing salt from seawater, primarily on offshore platforms. But at the same time, there were some applications where fresh water was needed for some of the other production services involved with oil field production. And so I got involved with using desalination, particularly RO membranes, in removing the salts from the water for use in the production activities. I was involved on and off with produced water then for the next 10 years, but really started getting involved with it again about 2000. Although I've always had some involvement with produced water, as the new production techniques have come into play, and as in 2004 or 5, as people started looking at fracking and unconventional oil and gas, there was a greater emphasis on treating water, or produced water, to higher levels, either to dispose of it more easily or to reuse it in production activities. So this is a trend that we've seen continue. And as the industry has turned to these new production techniques, there's been a greater emphasis on going beyond the conventional treatment, beyond walnut shell filters and coalescers, and getting into the area where you're removing the salts and some of the other dissolved solids in produced water, so that the water can be more easily reused or disposed of by reducing the volume. There are two basic ways to desalinate water. You can boil water and collect the vapor, condense it, and reuse the pure water as distillate. And as you're boiling it, you're concentrating the salts in the bottom of the vessel. Those salts, or the brine, in the oil field, is then injected, re-injected into a formation and disposed of. In some cases, it's also possible to recover the brine, filter it, or reuse it as kill fluid in some of the production activities. The other way to desalinate water is to use a membrane to separate the salts from the water through pressure, by pumping water at high pressure, in some cases up to 1,000 psi, through a membrane, pushing the water through, and keeping the salts behind. It accomplishes the same thing as boiling does, but you do it at ambient temperatures, albeit at a higher pressure. So both techniques have some advantages and disadvantages, and both tend to be pretty energy intensive. So one of the keys is trying to match the right technology with the produced water quality and the desired reuse, or the method, or what you're going to reuse the water for. A lot of the desalination technologies that are being looked at in the produced water area were developed initially for drinking water applications, either to desalinate brackish water from aquifers or seawater. But as we moved into the produced water area, we have a whole new set of challenges. And it's addressing those challenges effectively that's been a real issue with a lot of the technologies. However, there have been successful adaptations of both membrane and thermal technologies. There's also a lot of new technologies or variations on the conventional municipal technologies that are finding their way into the produced water area. Some of the most interesting, I think, are forward osmosis. It's a process that, rather than using a high pressure pump to force salt water through a membrane, it uses a salt gradient to suck fresh water through a membrane. Pretty interesting process that's already proven successful in the Permian Basin. There's another technology that has a 40-year-old technology that has found its way recently into the produced water area, called membrane distillation. It mixes membranes and thermal technologies to draw vapor across a membrane. Again, it's done very well in a couple of demonstrations in the field. Yet another technology is humidification, dehumidification, where you humidify a water produced water and then dehumidify the vapors. In some cases, it's not even necessary to dehumidify the vapors. You might just let them escape to the atmosphere. So we've even seen some interest in what is counterintuitive to a lot of water treaters is a process using freezing, where you freeze produced water, take the ice, which is essentially pure water, separate it from the brine that remains unfrozen, and dispose of the brine and melt the fresh water for reuse or disposal to a surface water. So there's some really interesting things, and all of these things are looking for that silver bullet, the way that you can reduce energy consumption and improve the efficiency of the process.